SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. I'm joining us from Grandma's Couch Studio. But
finally,
this is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil, and as I mentioned,
is he sure of that?
I'm very sure of it today. I'm ready to rip, man. And my name is Neil, and I am in Grandma's Couch Studio
With
in person.
and that guy in plaid over there, Jeff, the producer.
And you got mad scientist wearing the Snap-on hoodie.
The Italian
that you spent
Stallion.
all the money to get
and
finally.
Doc Brown.
Yep.
Did you change your jacket this morning? Or did you take off that fly-looking one that you had on over the weekend?
Yeah, I took that off.
You took it off. It looked really good. I like it. It was like Carhartt inspired.
You like
kinda
that
jacket.
over flannel?
I'm not. Well, it was a little flashy.
I'm really confused now.
Well, it is the Midwest, so flannel over everything.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I know, Jeff.
What's really entertaining about that is the fact that you were legitimately trapped in the Midwest as part of your road trip.
I was.
And
And
so
in
you
fact,
got to experience the real Midwest before coming back to...
and the funny
Eastern
thing is,
Ohio.
for any of our viewers and listeners, the last small update that you got from me was in Oklahoma, and I left Oklahoma and had a heck of a drive. I was very tired at the tail of a 2-week epic adventure. And running the big truck across the country, and I broke down in somewhere Missouri. And while I don't necessarily want to wholly and completely expand upon that specific scenario, I think that it will be valuable to unpack in some capacity. But I met through a complete act of serendipity. The nature of what happens and the manner in which it
SFJ
happens.
way.
Yeah, I mean the Bob Ross happy accident,
Yep.
right? And I met a group of individuals who were in a startup diesel repair business, and I was so wholly impressed and had a great experience. And I've had to expand upon my own kind of like social psychobabble about this. And I think it was because I was in such a vulnerable place when my truck breaks down and I'm emotionally exhausted and I just want to be home and I just want to get back to family and friends and work. And my kind of the wherewithal, my bank account, my emotional bank account is hanging in the balance of these individuals that I've just met.
And you're to a point that you're going to pay whatever it pays so you can get home, and you're in that vulnerable state where you know that you could be taking advantage of it.
And 100%. And I had already been quoted, for those who are following along, I had gotten quoted between $500 and $550 for an oil change in Amarillo, Texas. And I got to tell you,
Everything's bigger in Texas.
and I got to tell you, I mean, the truck takes 6 gallons of oil. It's gallons, not 6 quarts.
Can't they just like go up to the refinery and just hook the truck up in
Right?
Texas?
Right? The filter is, list price or MSRP, $115, but you can literally walk into an O'Reilly's and buy it for about $70, right? Retail. Any Joe Schmo can go in and buy the filter for my truck for $70. So it's like, and I know that, a big truck oil change place is not using Shell Rotella with zinc. That's just not what they're using, right? They're using a bulk 1540 weight oil. And so so to be quoted 5 to 550, I thought that's highway robbery. So if you see me doing a filter change, I may or may not expand upon that in the mean streets of Las Vegas at O'Reilly's that is less than desirable parking lot. That's why. That was at the encouragement of the mad scientist who was like, hey, you've got some fresh oil in there. Go ahead and just spin the filter on and off.
And we did talk about that in our little short episode last week, and we talked about how Davey became friends with a truck driver and
100%.
Almost went home with a truck driver.
Yep, 100%. He's a cuddly character. The savage.
Well, imagine how heartbroken you would have been with the turbo incident to have fresh, brand new, just put in oil and you would have been.
I lost 4 gallons of oil on the highway and from the hotel to the diesel shop. They ended up having to add 4 gallons.
So you had an oil change.
I did have an oil change at this point. 6 gallons are supposed to be in it.
And you lost 4.
And I lost 4. And the worst part is I actually poured a gallon in. So in the grand scheme of things, I lost around 5 gallons of oil through this process. But I had a spare gallon because I was, I wanted to be prepared enough to top off fluids. To circle back to this shop, and if you saw my couple little videos on my personal social pages, and I encourage our global listening audience, you're welcome to jump onto my Facebook account first and foremost, but Insta as well. Diamond Diesel in Sullivan, Missouri, and Diamond Diesel and Auto Repair, I believe.
Just south of St. Louis, right?
Southwest. It is technically on a direct westward eastward route of St. Louis. It's not north south. It's a west east. But I think the way that the state lays out, it's a hair southwest, but it's technically west. Off of 40, 70. I don't even remember, because as I shared in our American Hustle podcast, I was so exhausted, I was so beaten up, I had to Google, where am I right now?
Yeah.
So definitely not an intended stop, but one that a shop out of the authentic Midwest made the best of for me. So thank you once again to them and the process. Today we're going to be unpacking some of that epic experience, some of the SEMA experience, some of the things that you guys might have saw online, the coverage, conversations that we've had with some of the guys.
Well, it's kind of funny. I don't think we've actually told you yet, but we put out into the universe similar situation. We had a customer, person going through from Vermont to Texas.
Yep.
Was going down the road, started having electrical problems with his JK. It's completely outfitted out. It has a tent that pops up like a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Oh, it was really cool.
And he
Solar
called,
panels on top of it. You would have loved it.
Yeah. He called in. He's like, hey, I have this going on. Jeff tried to do the nice thing over the phone. Hey, it sounds like your battery's loose. Guy's like, that can't be the case. Fine. We're going to be here for a little bit longer if you can make it back. So he backtracked from Menor.
Yeah, he was almost an hour.
Oh, he had already
an hour west
passed
of
us.
Yeah.
But he did his internet search, and the internet told him to come here. So he called.
Turned around, tightened up his battery terminals because the battery was loose.
Go figure.
Fixed his problem. Said,
And
hey,
he was a
let's
nice
give
enough
you the
guy.
tour. Let us you experience what SFJ is, and this is the SFJ difference. And you know what? It was just us giving you a 5-minute tour and 2 cracks of the ratchet. Have a good day. So I said after that, I was like, well, we're just putting that out in the universe. So if Neil breaks down, or when he breaks down,
He did say that.
the universe will be like, see you.
I see you.
I will do the same for him.
That's literally what happened.
Well, and that is I freaking love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna love this even more. We didn't even. I don't think got to. Share
I had
this with
no
you.
idea.
But his son, while they were broke down in Menor, they stopped at a card shop basically, and the kid was recognized and pulled into the card shop to play Pokemon while he was on the phone with us.
3rd-time world champion for Pokemon.
No, he's not.
Yes.
Yes. And he's ironically
Internationally
just a little older than
famous.
our boys.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Yes.
13 years old, internationally famous. Two-time
For
two-time
Pokemon.
Yeah, 2-time world champion Pokemon player and a 3rd time with like a bronze. Or
And they're
something.
traveling through in their Jeep
Yep.
in a great epic adventure
He's
from
trying
Vermont
to
Texas.
expose his son to different sights, sounds, different countries, different states.
It's
100%.
an
You would've-
amazing story.
Yeah.
You would have nerded out so hard.
I love it. Well,
And,
best of luck to that person.
And he said he was so impressed that he's going to try to do maintenance as he travels the globe, stopping here.
well, and we do have customers who do that,
told him
I'm thankful
We
for
literally
those
said
people.
we actually have customers that, well, hey, I'm going to be heading this way. I want these XYZ maintenance things, and they'll camp out in the parking lot or they'll do whatever,
Yep.
to make
And
sure that
I'm so thankful for those individuals, our listeners. If you're thinking about doing something like that, we're happy to receive you in the process. We're actually pretty well situated for that.
I should really jump to the comments because
You
we've
should.
got a lot of comments. Nate started it off as first, saying good morning,
Good job, Nate.
and then he's got a whole.
Nate's been busy himself. So if you're in our comments, Nate has got all the listings of the pretty significant Trail Hero X experience and showing. He had kept us in the dark on what that experience was going to look like. He had I don't know, he actually signed an NDA, but he was not allowed to talk about it
think he did,
beforehand.
But he's got all the first 4 episodes. I don't know how many episodes total, but there's 4 episodes available. What times they're playing, they're all listed in the comments for you. Then you got Daddy Jeep saying, hey, hey, hey. Billy Joe saying good morning. Robert Seaman saying hello, everyone. Leslie Ann saying morning. Jaga Jeeper saying good morning. Joe O'Brien, you made it home. Nate said, guess Joe's slacking this morning because how far down in the comment chain Joe made it.
Right.
That's entertaining. We got Jeannie saying good morning and welcome home. Roy Hill saying good morning. Donna saying hi from Florida. Tell her Jeep hi because her Jeep has been dropped off for service. Fred saying good morning. Nate said, good thing Neil was in Texas. Had he leaked 4 to 5 gallons of oil in California, he could have been jailed for ecological felonies.
Might be true. I probably could. I'm still probably on a wanted list. I take Pennsylvania and their bridge structures. I am pretty certain that there's an EPA
we
warrant
know
for me in
about that
Missouri
one.
now as well.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I was going to say.
I definitely didn't witness that happen. Yvonne is saying, great morning to y'all. Nate said he definitely did sign an NDA.
Yep, that's what I thought.
And then Bill McWilliams saying good morning. And Nate said, since episode 3 is already aired, he can mention that his wife and he crushed it in the tire change competition.
Congratulations.
That's
yes.
exciting.
Very cool. Very exciting stuff. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for prioritizing and joining us for the live episode and for this program. If you are listening in your ears at a later date on your favorite streaming platform, we thank you so very much for prioritizing us as part of your infotainment. You are the bulk of our audience. As much as we really enjoy interacting with our live followers, the overwhelming number of downloads and later on listeners is what proliferates, the streaming and opportunities of podcasts.
I want to have an opportunity to say thank you again to those listeners, specifically because last month we had the most downloads of our episodes that we've ever had in 3 years of doing the show.
Yes.
So it was phenomenal amount of downloads.
Which is even more reason to say, go on, leave us a review, send that to Jeff, because he was not actually stuck. He could have hooked Johnny off the trailer, hooked the purple strap up to the front of the internet, and towed that sucker home.
Flat toed. The internet would have loved me flat toed.
Absolutely.
Oh no. I could just picture you shoving Leo in the CJ and
Oh my God! And Leo having to dead man it.
dead man
Oh God!
And
know,
the
what
CJ,
I've
he'd be in an international. Neil would be dragging him with the.
I'd be
Johnny.
dragging all 3 of them.
Yeah, it's fine.
Be dragging all 3 of them. Hook it up. You could have left the CJ on the trailer.
Absolutely.
And J5 could have drugged the international, the
drug it.
Oh, my
wedge,
goodness.
and everything home.
Purple
That
strap. for the
Purple
win.
strap. Purple
That
strap.
purple strap would have broke trying to do that.
I
Definitely broke when we tried to pull the
things
house.
I've subjected my child to was far, and it's just. I look back. I made him dead man a tractor for me while it was hooked up precariously close to behind my Dodge, my 1-ton.
It's character building.
And I made him, and I think back to it, and the expectation of how I had him just hauling butt And he was probably 7 trying to steer this tractor behind my big truck. And I think that was probably not a great parenting move on my part. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Anyways. So for those of you who had been following along with the kind of the SEMA escapades, the cross country tour, first of all, I really thank you so much for being part of that experience. I got a lot of side texts. A lot of people picked up on little bits and pieces. Joe O'Brien made sure to continually remind me that International primarily makes tractors and manure spreaders.
That's fair.
So I would regularly get a text message from him regarding my 13-letter manure spreader truck that was reasonably doing a good job getting me, coast to
great
coast.
short haul truck.
It's a fantastic regional truck. Really do enjoy it. But I've got to be honest with you, folks. I'm looking at a Volvo closer and closer every day. And you know what? If you think Volvo is a swear word, I would love a Peterbilt, but the Volvos just get great fuel mileage in comparison to what they do, and we don't need a heavy haul.
I'm guessing you didn't see another 4700 on the freeway when you were driving.
No, there's a crew cab 47, 4900. They're not, it's a cool truck. It is a cool factor.
Yes.
Right? It's a cool factor hooked up to the wedge. And I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many people coast to coast, state to state, were driving by, giving me the thumbs up, taking pictures as they drive by, like the camera, like their phone is just up against their window as they drive, past the rig.
Past you because you couldn't do over 60 miles an hour.
Jeff, don't harm me like that. Listen.
So, anyways, Charles in the comments saying, "Good morning from Texas. He needs a purple strap." And Bill McWilliams said, "National Lampoon Jeep Vacation."
That's what it was.
So Joe O'Brien said 13-letter poop spreader.
Yeah. I'd periodically get those text messages from Joe in the process.
That's funny.
The thing is, I think that the turbo was failing longer than I had anticipated. And as a person, and I just, I mentioned this to Jeff in our morning podcast, and I feel like I need to own it to the public now as well. And you've all heard the multitude of times that I've lit vehicles on fire. This is my 3rd turbo that I've blown up.
I think it's important that we reiterate for our listeners that don't know you that it's not because you wired the vehicle wrong that you've lit them on fire.
Oh, 100%. No.
It's never been that.
No. And it's not, the turbo's blowing up has nothing to do with, a poor installation or even a poor product on there.
I'm going to say 2. The first one was a pass, but that's just me.
Oh, on the turbos, you're saying?
Yeah. On the Ram, that was I don't believe that one was actually broken yet. Maybe it was ailing.
Charles supports you on the Volvo, by the way.
Thank you, Charles. I appreciate the reinforcement. I don't need a lot of ease. I'm pretty subject to
I think he needs a
influence.
Mac myself because he hits everything like a bulldog, but that's just me.
Yeah, Macs are regional haulers. They're, the Volvo is going to coast to coast and sip on the fuel for us. But regardless of that daydream at the moment, the turbos have been questionable and opportunities to upgrade and whatnot. But and that's the thing. I'm just trying to use the vehicles at potential is what it comes down to. And I'm asking a lot out of them, sometimes a little more than the average user would or should, much like the burning small fires as well. I think that the challenge, and this is what they always say, don't buy a mechanic's vehicle. Mm-hmm. And I stand true to that because the mechanic...
You are representative of that.
I am representative of that. I know how far
the dictionary. There's a picture of you and your vehicles.
What's really sad is I try really hard, other than my John Deere tractors, to maintain my stuff. And even me, somehow, when I loan or sell things, they seem to want more attention.
You mean me. Every time that Neil borrows your stuff, it breaks? Every time?
I mean...
All right. So anyway,
so that he borrowed my air hammer and broke it, and then blamed you because of.
It's all fair.
Anyway, I'm going to move on. So, as far as the general epic on the way out, for those of you who had followed along sufficiently, we made pretty good time when we left. I had I'll do some highlights and whatnot. It was really fun in the sense that we got to experience aspects of the country. I literally watched a reel or saw a meme that was like, if you kind of want to be angry at your fellow neighbor, watch what's happening in the media right now. But if you kind of want to love your country again, drive from coast to coast. And I wanted to hammer that home to a degree because I authentically encountered good, regular human beings along the adventure, whether it was, from truck stop to truck stop to, to the highs and lows of interactions, to the roadside attractions. And we all have got our peculiarities and our baggage, and that's the beauty of the melting pot that we are, and recognizing that that we are this melting pot. And so there was cultural differences and ethnicities and experiences that vary or differ from state to state. But in all, it was overwhelmingly positive. Especially those direct personal interactions. Of course, you get the road rage inspired experiences that no matter where you're at, you're going to get people who get frustrated while driving. That also seems to be part of our culture. But within reason, it was this. I just kind of had this great falling in love with the American spirit all over again, and I meandered on and off of historic Route 66, as I mentioned last time, and that just kind of just made me continue to fall in love with the automotive world, because history and camping and exploration, it kind of, in my own opinion, certainly here within the States, is inherently tied to our love affair with the automotive field.
I absolutely love Route 66. The history of it, the attractions that you find along the way, it's worth every bit of it. And I've yet to do the whole Route 66. I've done exactly what you said. Sure. In and out of it. But one day I would like to just do the whole route.
Yeah. And, it was just so fascinating to me. As I kind of reveal more than I often do, I'm actually doing a book study on Abraham Lincoln at the moment. And so my travel from Ohio to St. Louis correlated a lot with what's happening in my book, because that was territory that Lincoln was so impactful of. And then as...
By chance, is it a book called Lincoln on Leadership?
It is not.
No.
But that sounds wonderful.
I might have to lend that to you.
Yeah. But from there, the historical relevancy of that then kind of really becomes, obviously Route 66 technically starts in Chicago. So then from Chicago through St. Louis then becomes this pilgrimage, which obviously it goes all the way to Los Angeles, and we take the detour and go north at the Hoover Dam, basically into Las Vegas. But this automotive pilgrimage, I felt very connected because, as I share in our YouTube video that will be coming out soon, while we have been attending SEMA for almost a decade at this point, which is really kind of wild to say and think about. And again, that shop of this startup shop that I go to, who saves my butt in Nowhere, Missouri. I mean, the guy expressed to me that it's a dream of his to get to SEMA. I know individuals who it's a dream yet for them, car collectors, to get to SEMA. And for whatever reason, their prioritization, their whatever, let alone display vehicles in such an incredibly prominent manner.
Yep.
And I can factually say that SEMA is specifically intended to be an elite industry experience. We've been attending for a decade, and it is not particularly easy to get involved in a high quality or a high caliber manner. That's not to say that there are some yahoos who get through. Every once in a blue moon, we see some poor craftsmanship make its way through, and you'll see that represented on the internet. However, the vast majority, the bell curve of attendees, is really some of the highest caliber parts and processes represented within the automotive industry.
And not only that, I would say the more vehicles of SEMA that they're throwing eggs at are outside. And people don't realize that is literally like 2 shows at once.
Yes.
Outside is public. It's cool. It is definitely an accomplishment to be there, but it is a whole different zip code.
The outside is the wow factor for the general attendee.
Yes.
The inside is the nuts and bolts. Let's get down to it and see the quality.
Yep.
And so for us to have not 1 but 2 vehicles represented inside the convention centers as a whole, and our experience after a decade of attending this event, and the value in which our customers have bestowed upon us to say, hey, well, I trust you to do these things. And for me to be driving this route across the United States, and I thank you, Jeff, for suggesting that southern route. I really did enjoy it. Also, it was probably the most beneficial to the truck. I would have been still in the Rockies, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because
The turbo would have blown on the way there.
the
not on
turbo
the way
would have
home.
blown on the way there, 100%. But regardless, that was this automotive religious experience for me. And, and being able to share that with people, first and foremost, my son, to bring him along. As much as I absolutely desperately love the mad scientist and credit him with being our first and foremost best customer ever, I jokingly say that Leo was my first business partner because even in our years where I was just parting down used Jeeps and selling parts on eBay and Craigslist and whatnot, I would be out meeting with somebody and I'd have my son in a car seat swinging him, slinging a used part over here. It was so natural for me to have my infantile child at these transactions, that a lot of people would be like, do you need to go take your kid somewhere or do whatever? No, my kid's perfectly fine with me right now. Like, do you want to buy this part or not? You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And so it was this. So first and foremost, having to share that epic experience with him, but then share it back to everybody else and kind of be like, I oftentimes pull no punches, say I live vicariously through so many of the people who friend me on Facebook or follow on Facebook. I actually pay attention when people are participating in these cool off-road runs or there's cool, coast-to-coast drives. And I'm excited for you. And so for me to be able to offer a similar situation was awesome, was very cool as far as I was concerned. Now, when it comes to the SEMA show itself, what stood out to you guys from a distance?
So I thought it was cool that there was an FC there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, our Jeep. Overall, it was kind of just neat. I didn't really see any big thing from the hot rod side, which was kind of surprising. Usually, there's at least a build that's like getting revealed or showcased or something. And that seemed kind of quiet, which was kind of weird. I do know a couple people missed their boat, didn't have the car done, parts logistics didn't work out, whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously, we keep dealing with the 2025 because 2025.
Right. Super weird logistics going on
Absolutely.
in the world right now.
And these are big builds that have so people that are sponsoring and expected them to be in the booth and that kind of stuff. And honestly gives me more impact on how big a deal that is when we were involved in that this year.
I think from my perspective, there's 2 things that really stood out. One is that I always look for the theme at SEMA. We had the year of the Broncos. We had the year of the Cybertrucks. And this year, you guys said there really didn't appear to be a vehicle, per se, that was the theme of the year, but more of a wrap and a film protectant, right?
You know what? And you're spot on. And I'm glad you kind of once again have alley-ooped me this talking point. It was, to both of your credit and conversation, it was an interesting year.
I want to add the second thing that I noticed is it seemed like the off-road and 4x4 was not what it's been in the time that I've been going with you guys to SEMA.
Yeah. And it did appear to be a little smaller, a little off. Not the show as a whole, but certainly the 4x4 off-road experience. So they're to contextualize for people. When I started going almost a decade ago, the 4x4 and off-road folks were in one of the larger halls upstairs in the back, basically. It's this kind of out of sight, out of mind, you know, and as a credit to the JK platform and the community through the JK, the industry changed and we started to pull the 4x4 and off-road scene forward more. And there've been ebbs and flows. At one point in time, there was the overlanding scene, and there was the whole and almost a complete overland expo, which had taken a portion of the convention floor.
Overlanding experience.
Yeah.
They had an inside, they had an outside section at one point. I mean, and it wasn't a small section.
It was massive, right?
Massive.
And that was not just the Jeep community, but that was 4x4 and camping.
Roamers, yep.
And so that section had been attention commanding at one point. I will say that the 4x4 and off-road scene had, in my opinion, some of the best real estate at the show, in the sense that it was when you walked into one of the primary spaces of what is called the West Hall, you were confronted with the 4x4 and off-road community. And that was spectacular. So one of the kind of the iconic SEMA signs that people will take pictures with, and there's a 2 or 3 story jumbotron with some looking windows through it. That space is the West Hall. And the West Hall is across from the Marriott, and it's a little closer to the Strip, and you know there's a number of things like that, and so as you enter that space, there's also a food cafeteria. That's the primary on-site food location of the convention center. As you turn into the West Hall, the 4x4 and off-road community was boom, right smack there. You go about 3 rows over, and that is where the Crown Automotive booth is. This was prime real estate right next to the Ford Motorsports and Performance booth, sharing the likes of Best Top and their subsidiary and conglomerates. Method Wheels was not far away. Steinjager was not too far.
Well, didn't you say
3M was the immediate booth that you walked into? These are power players.
Well, yes, Ford Performance or something right next to you too.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah, Ford Motorsports and Performance.
With who was in that booth though?
So Cody Walker. So, I mean, again, Cody Walker is Paul Walker's younger brother. They are heavy investors in the motorsports industry, speed and that kind of stuff.
Well,
you'll know that name
a
from.
big crowd right there.
That's drawing a crowd, and he's there. Richard Petty was 2 or 3 booths down in another direction, and Ian Johnson was 1 or 2 over in the other direction. As namesake individuals who were participating in this space right here and there, right? Yeah. I mean, we're not talking they just happen to be on site elsewhere. We're talking about within 50-yard radius of the Crown Automotive booth, where Swamp Donkey #not a restoration, one of our primary vintage vehicles that we've been displaying, was on display for the world to see. So we're in good company, in my opinion.
I do have a question from Jugga Jeepers, and he's asking if there was anything at SEMA that you saw and thought that you'd want to try or use that on a build. And in the past, we have absolutely done that. We've found nacho lights. We really like nacho lights. So that was something we found at SEMA. We made fun of at SEMA at first before we realized
you
what
did.
They actually...
You did.
We did.
You and Greg were like, hey, you got to see this thing. You know what I mean?
Nacho lights.
I was familiar with Nacho.
You weren't familiar with the fact that they were part of ARB.
I was not. And then as soon as we saw them at ARB, we were like, whoa.
Yeah. And,
stuff's getting real.
So there was that. The XK command switch.
Yep.
Something that we also found at SEMA.
Yep.
And we utilize in a lot of builds now.
And the thing is, and this is kind of the whole point of utilizing the podcast as a talking point, or a kind of an infotainment point for people, is to reveal some stuff, as far as I'm concerned, that you might not normally get.
Right.
And so in a manner, that is where I see where you, but certainly Greg, have excelled.
Yeah.
In Greg, who's been going with me since the very beginning.
Well, he's found many things there.
He's
that we
found
use.
so many products, and I can expand upon, as you mentioned, and Up Down Air was a product that was there. Trigger was a product that was there. We actually were able to talk to developers, understanding the inner workings of their product better, and then bringing that information back to our customers and now our listeners and followers. That's really a major benefit. And then as I kind of reveal all to our listening audience, I don't give a flying fig. So when I say that, I say that in such a way that I blindly follow Greg and you, and when you've been there, around, and I go and I basically, you guys give me a list, and you're like, here's what we need to be conscientious of.
Yeah. Here's who you should talk to. Here's who we should interview. Here's product that you should go learn more about.
Totes.
And here's the map to get there, because you don't know how to find the way around the building.
And I don't know how to get around the facility, folks. I've been going for a decade. I have no idea how to get around the facility, and I'll reveal a little bit of that here in a hot second. But realistically, when it comes to those things, I am so consumed with shooting off messages to other people who might be there or might be looking for me to be there. I'm checking in on what's going on back here at our facility, doing customer communication or follow up. I am oftentimes, this was our busiest year yet because of people wanting to meet with me in the booth or ask questions about the Jeep or Jeeps, I should say.
Well, yeah, because then you also end up doing interviews. You did a couple interviews. I know Rick Payway was one that you talked with for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys from Gone Jeepin' were excellent. The folks from Willie's Overland, replica producer, replacement tub producer, excellent. Yeah, we had lots of that kind of stuff as well.
I would say this year is a lot of reinvesting in prior relationships. Center Forest and Willie's Overland, that kind of thing. So much more than just going out and kind of hitting the street and seeing what's new. It was more of a doubling down. Hey, where are you at in your development? Where are you at on this kind of stuff? Here's what we're seeing on this. Here's how it works out. How open to critiques are you?
Sure.
And sounds like it was a home run in those situations.
Sure.
On both apart.
Yeah,
So-
and when
so
I jokingly
aside from
say that I don't care, I do. I absolutely, I do desperately care, because we've been able to bring prototype product, the RSE product, again, all the ones that you mentioned, I mentioned, we've been able to bring that back and share that as front runners in our industry. I'm simply saying I am in a situation subservient to your guys' identification of that stuff first. Now, as a coded truck enthusiast, I can't not talk about the Mickey Thompson wide wheels and Baja belted 2 tire that just absolutely
Retro tires.
The retro tires,
Right.
that absolutely consumed the show. The truck community is on fire talking about these tires and wheels right now. It's important to note that we have to follow up. They're not available until May, as our direct relationship with Mickey Thompson. And it's not just our newfound love affair and direct relationship with them, but specifically their product really did steal the show when it comes to new specific product that is been released. That just commanded so much of the 4x4 community's attention. When it comes to other new product releases, what were you going to ask or say?
So I was just, you go ahead and then I'll say after that.
Okay. As far as some of the other stuff, there didn't appear to be the same degree of practical innovation that there has been in the past.
This is a good lead in.
So, I mean, you'll see a video there where I've got quick disconnects of sorts, or sway bar links, but they actually have a reservoir shock on them. So,
Haven't we seen that before?
not the actual bypass or the actual reservoir. We've seen them where they have dampening, and Apex was
springs.
making them where they have springs,
Yeah.
and they can they move between these different little tangs in the body. But this actually had like reservoir shocks hanging off your sway bar links.
I do know that there is one product you were excited about that you didn't say yet.
Well, okay, tell me that here in a second. I'm going to continue to expand upon some things I didn't say. There was air conditioning systems for YJs, for full-size vehicles, for Cherokees. It was fascinating at the fact that there are companies out there who are doing product development on air conditioning systems, specifically retrofitting some of these vintage
Well, that's
vehicles.
because the only ones of those that survive right now are down in the south where they need the AC.
Yeah, that's actually a good observation.
Well, and I think that's just continuing of the hot rod march as vehicles are getting older, and maybe you're hardcore into hot rods, but you kind of want a family rig, and a Wagoneer kind of makes sense, but you want it to have the creature comforts, which is a good lead in. Is what will Quake put crazy crap on for wheels next year? And the reason why I even noticed this year is they chose my latest project.
I knew you were going to be so fired up over this.
to put
I'm
tracks
surprised
on.
he didn't bring it up when you asked what he observed.
Why?
Model T?
Model T. It's a 26, 27 Model T coupe.
Yep.
It's completely bone stock, other than some LED lights and tracks.
I mean, bone stock. And the funny thing is, they put four-wheel drive tracks on there,
Yeah.
and it's not obviously four-wheel drive.
Not four-wheel drive.
And so many automotive people are not going to pick up on that,
Yeah.
right?
Not only that, the front axle on a Model T original is so weak. Literally, Henry Ford on one of his escapades wrecked the Model T, and they had to go back to the factory and get parts because the front axle was so subpar. They couldn't probably even turn.
Yeah,
those tracks.
No. I mean, we're all those of us who are in the know, absolutely are conscientious that they jacked that up, pulled off the old.
There's literally video now or pictures showing them taking the old wires off and putting on the tracks at where it sits, and it did not move from that spot.
No, that's all staging.
Yeah.
It's all staging. Jeff, what were you going to say? The product that you had mentioned, or I didn't mention?
JKS has the long arm that you were
Yep.
obsessing over while you were there.
The interesting piece is that was not actually in the new product expose, but that was something that jumps out at me because obviously I want to long arm the world.
And they've been teasing it.
Yes, because the reason it was not in the new product expose was because they actually revealed it, I think, in 22 at SEMA.
I would agree.
And we have actually
Been waiting this whole time, right?
We've been waiting this whole stinking time. And it is going to be a very, very competent kit if they can actually bring it to market. And
Here's hoping.
without being too much of a sass pants, the talking heads, the people in the booths, and they don't know me from Adam. Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
They do it there afterwards, though.
Correct. Because,
They're trying to kick you out or what? They know who you are.
right. Because they want to they're anticipating the vast bell curve of individuals. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of people are going to walk by their booth. They're going to have so many conversations throughout the course of the 4 or 5 days that the show is that, they're kind of treat everybody as a blank slate. The thing is, I have been waiting with bated breath for this kit to come out since I was personally shown it in 2022. I also know all of the obstacles and challenges that they have endeavored to do, and the kind of the minutia of how they anticipate this to be installed.
I wonder if there's like I met Neil support group for these individuals. They're like going in, got their coffee, like, oh. It's like, what's up, man? I had this customer is just really busting my balls, man. He really got me.
Did he have a mohawk?
Yeah. Boy, was he from Ohio?
Right.
He claimed he was from the Midwest.
You know, and just for our listeners at home, I need you to know that there was a company, we're good friends with them. I hope they consider us friends, who had a meme that when I called and one of them had to return my phone call, it was the Ben Affleck who was like hanging outside, like taking a smoke break or a coffee break, desperately trying to muster up the courage to call me back, and was like, this was the meme that got sent to whoever had to call me back, you know?
Yep.
I was cracking up when they sent us that.
Regardless, yeah. So the guy approached me. He was like, well, you want to know about our new long arm kit? I was like, well, why don't I tell you what I know and what I don't see on this particular Jeep?
And that's when he needed to join the support
Yes.
group.
And he had to go get another guy. And,
boy.
That guy, the first guy, he disappeared off into the distance.
He had to go lick his wounds.
Yeah, right. And I was like, all right, well, it's cool. When are you actually going to build it? Well, it's built. It's here in front of you. No, it was in front of me 3 years ago. Well, we already took orders on it. Yeah, I would have ordered one 3 years ago as well. When's it actually going to be available? Well, okay. Well, there were pre-orders taken at Smoky Mountain. So?
Yeah.
You know what? So what? You took pre-orders. Let me tell you about this time this axle manufacturer told me they were going to have this program ready. And and it wasn't. Let me tell you about that. Listen, don't BS a BSer, okay? Like, you're not going to get me all excited, because I've been excited before and then I've been disappointed, you know?
Yep.
And the thing is, this particular kit, the manner in which JKS had that displayed, they had it displayed on an Ultimate axle. Well, they did not actually an Ultimate axle. I think the Courier Dynatrack axles. Regardless, the JKS kit will require you to cut off your control arm pockets and weld on supplied control arm pockets. So the actual kit that they're going to supposedly have ready for production, or at least that they teased us they were going to 3 years ago, is not actually what was on display.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not angry about it, you know what I mean? But don't try and...
out on your foolishness.
Yeah, don't try and blow smoke at me and my base. You know, like let's talk about this. This is the reality of the situation. And
you want this kit.
I'm excited. I want it.
Let's actually develop it.
Yeah,
make it available.
do what you said you were going to do. And they get closer by the day is what they're saying. And I am excited for them. And I do, folks listening at home, understand that JKS and Iron Rock Off-Road are my number one, number two call in no particular order when it comes to suspension.
At the moment, if it's a long arm, we have to go one direction.
Well, if it's a long arm, we're going to sell you Iron Rock Off-Road because it's actually available and it's trail tested and
it works.
And it works. But as JKS comes to market, they have some cool things that they're offering as well.
Yep.
So there was a little bit of the insider piece. I do think it's valuable to follow up on my sentiment and statement that of things that I do and don't pay attention to or care of at the show. Now, I need you to know I'm going to own my indiscretions in life, and I'm okay owning them publicly. I always said I'm not going to say anything behind somebody's back that I wouldn't say to their face, and I try to live my life in such a way that that the actions that I take on a daily basis, that I would be able to admit them to not just the ones that I love, but publicly as well. On the fourth and final day of the show being open, but the fifth day that we were there, my intention was to go get Swamp Donkey from the booth and bring it home. Equally, as we've already mentioned, my 12-year-old was with me. During the show, he held up in the hotel. He's a pretty responsible young man. On Monday, he helped us move the Jeep into location. They were a little less stringent about the attendance, using badges and all that kind of stuff. While they were cognizant of it, they were less stringent per se than they were when the show is. It is a very, very tight show when it comes to specifically the credentials that you have around your neck. And everybody wears these lanyards and there's different color coding and there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes with that. On Friday, prior to getting the Jeep, I had borrowed a credential tag from a manufacturer with the intention to sneak my son into the show.
And now there is someone at the front gate that needs to be in the club support group.
Who's been wronged by Neil Simpson. So, just, being honest.
I think I'm going to be honest. I don't think that they're in the support group. I think they're leading the support group because they put you in your place.
Well, there was 4 of them. It's important to note.
Teamed up on him.
I did.
It's the Ron White thing of I don't know how many it would take, but I know how many they were going to use.
Yeah, I riled up four security guards pretty thoroughly. I'll be honest with you. And I used just about every tactic that I have in my toolbox with the intention to get my son in and through the show. But I made a few fatal errors in the process. Now, I'll just unpack the scenario in the most ridiculous and comical way possible, knowing that I needed to grab my son and with the objective to get him in a timely fashion to get the Jeep, to get it out of the building prior to a lot of commotion. I wanted to be at the booth by, the show ends at 4:00 or so. I wanted to be at the booth 2:45-ish. Somewhere in there, finish out my time, say thanks to the folks who sponsored our rigs, again, Crown Automotive, for being at the event and appropriately be there if there's any final questions about the display.
Which is not abnormal. When we've done other very close shows, we've been trying to be like at the starting line as the show is finishing, and may have or may not have had backlash from that a couple times. But the really thing that sucks is we're watching other people break down, tear down, getting out of Dodge early, and we're like, we really want to go home and see our families.
Yeah,
and we're trying to be as abiding as we can.
Yeah, we're trying to abide the rules and not break down early.
And for some reason, I guess we have guilty faces.
Well, so here's the thing. So I grabbed my son and I used said borrowed credentials. He's not attending the show. He's literally just coming there for an hour or two with the intention to help me pick up the Jeep for us to then kind of, be on our way.
But they don't care.
I recognize. So for me, there's a lot of gray in this scenario.
Yeah.
For the show, he's an attendee. He is on site during show hours. And I'm flying pretty close to the sun, folks. I understand that I'm going to accept my bias and my perspective. Mm-hmm. I want you to break the rules a little bit. That's what I'm choosing to do. I live in the gray. So, all right. So anyways, the manufacturer who provides me the credentials, first and foremost, our big problem was we have different colors. So despite the fact that we're walking through the show together, mine is listed as a buyer, being that we are a retail business, whereas my son is borrowing an exhibitor badge. First and foremost, as the pair of us, they are vastly different. Nextly, they only had the name Catherine available for the badge from the exhibitors.
It's 2025.
And it's 2025. So I thought, well, what the heck? Who's paying that close of attention that this says Catherine? Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
they are.
Maybe. So it's like, well, yeah, but the only tag we have available for you to borrow is Catherine. I'm like, well, I just need it for like two and a half hours. I need to get from point A to point B to be there with the Jeep to pick it up as the event has broken down. So we get there, we buzz through the first security, we're into the new product hall expose all over again. We see some fun and interesting things. We pass through that. We then go through another section, which requires us to go through a security checkpoint. Again, we're doing pretty darn good. In that process, there are plenty of people who are conscientious that you have your credentials around your neck. This is not open to Joe public. You have to pay a pretty good amount to attend. Additionally, on Friday, when it is open to the public, they have a completely different color credential, and you've paid a premium to be there in attendance. So we've passed through 2-3 security checkpoints of people who've been conscientious of what we're wearing. As I enter one of the primary halls, they funnel us through a very narrow doorway. And this is where things take a turn for the worse, if you will, because my son is a very good do-gooder. He's, and I want that for him. I want him to make good, conscientious choices, but I also wanted him to not stop at the security checkpoint, to pretend that he didn't hear them say, "Hey, we need to do an identity check, an ID check." But instead he stopped because for whatever reason, they decided to do an ID check specifically on him. And that's okay. He did the right thing. And so
But that's when they were aware that he was not Catherine.
That's when they were aware he was, in fact, not Catherine. And that is when I then attempted to employ every tactic I know of attempting to remediate, mediate, and get my way. Which I need you all to know that the folks who are working security in Las Vegas are some of the most straight-faced, I don't give a darn, this is my job, and I'm holding to it.
Yeah.
Fully. And we've encountered this before.
In Vegas.
In Vegas.
Multiple locations, honestly.
Multiple times. And I give them all the credit, because here's the thing, is like everybody
They just
in Vegas.
smile at you. I don't
100%.
understand.
Because the folks who are working security and checkpoint ID and all that kind of stuff for these events in Vegas are used to people full of shenanigans. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're used to it.
Yeah.
This is not new. This is, I mean, and obviously we're not even inebriated and intoxicated. We're just passing from hall to hall. These folks who work these positions are good at what they do, obviously. And in my attempt to get my way, let's be honest, it eventually, I riled up 4 security individuals in the process.
You've made a scene.
I made a scene.
Now, in the comments, Nate's asking, but did you hit them with the, "Do you know who I am?"
Yes, he did.
I did, Nate. I did.
And they didn't care.
And they didn't care. In fact, so much so that in that regard, they pull from behind her. Seriously, it was like a magic bag. I don't even know where she pulled it from behind her, and produced a stack 2 inches thick of these credentials, which they had confiscated from other people.
You should have said, "Oh, that's probably where my actual badge is."
That's actually where his badge is.
I was wondering what happened. Somebody must have switched badges with us.
And they were like, "Sir, we don't give a flip whose stuff this is." And I was like, I mean, I attempted to bluff and calling, other credentialed individuals. I objectively said, I'm just trying to, and this is actually the part of there are true things in this sentiment. Things I'm going to do is I'm not going to demean you or dehumanize you in the process. I'm not going to lie. They asked me the age of my son. I authentically told him he's 12. He's huge. I mean, he's a big boy. And of course, they condescendingly like, "Who brings a 12-year-old to the show?" Which I hit them back with, "Do you know who I am?" Like, I bring a 12-year-old to the show. I've got multiple vehicles in here, and I'm trying to get to them. And they're like, "Well, where's your vehicle, sir?" And I was like, "In the West Hall." And they were like, "Do you know how far you are?" And I was like, "No, I have no idea," because
I'm lost currently.
I blindly just follow the guys, because my face is usually in the phone doing content or communicating or whatever. No, I don't actually know. I'm just walking from space to space, eventually getting to my hall.
Yeah.
And they thought I was certifiably nuts in the process because I wasn't anywhere close to the West Hall, And
Nate said, "Are you now on the list for next year's SEMA?"
Nate, I'm probably on a number of lists. I'm just
going to put it out in the universe right now. This is the starting gate for him to now get his way for future SEMAs, because we've had this situation at other shows, and now we do the most shenanigans we've ever done, and we don't have any problems, and
At
we
these
get to
other
do
events.
our thing. So the the timestamp now.
The bar has been set, and
For
he's going
when-
to figure out how to climb over
Yeah,
it.
Correct.
I mean, and this is without tooting entirely too much of my own horn. Yeah, you don't actually get to say no to me.
Pretty much.
We just find a more creative way to achieve the
You
goals
may have
that.
stopped him this year.
Yeah, all you did was stop me
For
now.
next year to walk in with.
I mean, Scott said it years ago, and it kind of burnt a hole into my brain when somebody at another event had done something that was not to our liking. And Scott was like, "Well, if you haven't met Neil, he's just going to do it anyways, and he's going to do his own event, or he's going to ensure that the direction of the next event goes the way that we want it to go." And I mean, we authentically still got into the West Hall before hours were out, and I'm not going to expand upon how and manner in which we did that. We did, and we had the Jeep, and we left the venue at an appropriate time. All they did was inhibit me from going through that main particular hall. Now the whole time, my son, oh my God, he's so sweet. He's gonna hate me for this. He cried because he was like, he thought like something bad was actually transgressing, and
Oh, yeah, he's expecting you to be handcuffed right there.
yeah, you know what I mean, that whole thing.
Hauled away.
And again, I'm not going to dehumanize anybody. I'm not going to demean their job. I'm not going to lie, any of that kind of stuff. It's just the fact that there was a couple things that we could or should have maybe done differently. Maybe we didn't need to walk through the center hall in the process. It's whatever. But we did get out. As we left the event, we were beat, we were tired, and we were just going to leave. But as I left the event,
No, you did not honk and wave at the security that didn't let you in, did you?
no,
You
maybe.
hesitated.
So as we passed by this primary security booth, who had once already not let me into the event, and she says, "Are you participating in the parade or are you not?" And I said, "No, just want to go home." And she said, "Okay, go that way." As we did that, I recognized the magnitude of the parade that was happening just a few hundred yards in the other direction.
So you did not listen to her yet again.
And so here I am on a primary road with a small median lower, and I'm shooting one direction because we're the people who are not participating, and they've got cones up to direct us and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, man, I don't know when I'm going to have this experience again. You just never know, right? For anybody, listening at home, you're in this moment and you're like, man, am I going to be able to do this again in this same capacity? And I hope that we are, but you don't know. And certainly, am I going to be able to do it again with my 12-year-old? And I thought, I'm going to go in that parade. I'm going to do it. So I may or may not have driven over the median. Again, we drive 4x4s. I come up and over the median, and I come back to where the cones have single laned the security line out through. And this is when they start yelling at me again. Turn around. Turn around. She's making these big motions, this stuff, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I didn't understand the instructions. I want to participate in the parade. And one of the law enforcement individuals who was like, hey, that's a nice Jeep. Did you just come out of the building? And I was like, yeah, I sure did. He's like, all right, let me move these cones for you. Meanwhile, security's still yelling at me to move. And before they could have any type of initial exchange, I just zoomed right through the cones.
Heck yeah.
The security guard
Let them sort it out after you've already gone. It's too late.
got through.
Just throw in a business card. This is the club you need to join now.
So
I got to go to the comments because Nate's saying or Joe said they're not letting you in next year. Then Nate said, so what he's hearing is that you blew SFJ's budget on bribes. And then Jaga Jeepers goes, at least he didn't borrow a golf cart. I don't know anything about that.
Right. Not yet. It's coming.
Nate says Neil is absolutely getting banned as you continue to expand upon your story.
I'm going to tell you, we got into the parade appropriately with everybody else. We found ourselves in between a Baja dune buggy and just a massively 24-inch lifted, 6-door F-350 thing behind us. And we had the time of our life as we kind of paraded past the front of the West Hall, thousands upon thousands of automotive enthusiasts taking pictures and video. And this is that moment where you get to rev the engine and squawk the tires, the sand buggy in front of me, suspension could raise and lower because the torque of the engine was, significant. And we just had an epic experience with the parade. It was actually pretty short. Greg, who was driving J5, was told that the parade would go 4 or 5 hours. And so if I would have known that information, I probably also would have chosen not to participate. But I blindly jumped into this 2 feet first, which is exactly how Greg and I work.
Pretty much.
And with that said, it was actually very short. If the parade was 10 or 15 minutes in and around the facility. Now, I think what they did is that then, much like Smoky Mountain, they do a cruise up and down the streets, or the Woodward Dream Cruise, where they cruise Woodward Avenue. I think they then have this loose expectation that the parade goes to the Strip and just cruises the Las Vegas Strip. Which obviously we did not participate in that. We went home. We started loading up the truck and trailer to start our travels home at that point. So needless to say, I far expanded upon some of my ridiculous shenanigans of sharing the SFJ way to the world. But we're not ones to sit on our hands, right? And again, my objective is never to be disrespectful in the process. But I am going to do what it takes to kind of ensure the brand and our agenda is best represented as it can be. Other than that, the show was pretty good. Coatings and films was the theme, as you mentioned. Method stole the show with their cardboard box Baja Racer inspired vehicle. The objective there is to stand out from the crowd. You have to do something that objectively makes you noteworthy. The cool thing about Swamp Donkey, unquestionably, was that it was the only CJ5 to my knowledge. Honestly, I don't even know if I saw a CJ7 there.
There was a scrambler other than that.
There was in the high lift booth. Shortly after one of my filmings, I did discover the scrambler, very much an off-road inspired vehicle. Swamp Donkey just has this incredible iconic styling with all the right upgrades that
absolutely
you kind of peel back a layer and you see that upgrade, and that's what I think made it so notable. J5, of course, got its time in the limelight because it's J5. I mean, it's just over the top and functional. A lot of people liked again, as it is, and which I think is the SFJ way, the more you kind of look, the more there is to see. And so there's just it's just dripping functionality with this very pleasing form. And I think that that's such a great representation of our brand. And both you and Greg, as the lead builders on either vehicle, how we want to represent ourselves. And so it was fun to be a fly on the wall and watch people interact with those vehicles and take pictures and be exposed to what is uniquely us. Mm-hmm. and me be able to recognize that. For them, they saw a cool tire carrier on Swamp Donkey. They saw a mini bike on top of J5. They saw that initial blip, that big superficial piece. For me, I got to see them have the light bulb. They see the light brackets that pivot 180, or they see that both axles are trussed on Swamp Donkey, excuse me. Or to get told that has a 360 in it, not a 304, and their brain breaks for a second, yep. Stuff like that. Jeff, was there anything else noteworthy in the comment section?
Other than Nate saying that he thinks security has a different take on you appropriately joining the parade, No, I think that's it. I think we've had a good episode, and we need to move to our weekend updates.
That is 100% accurate in all of the assessment. Again, I wish them the best, and I really don't want to be a thorn in their side in that capacity. So it was never my immediate attention. I hope you enjoyed kind of our take on the SEMA. There was a lot going on, and so there's going to be a full YouTube video coming out. From Savage has been actively working to compile that documentation, and so we can share that with you as soon as possible. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.
So in true SFJ fashion, because you just empowers you to do what you shouldn't do.
Yes.
Me and Jeff, we worked all week last week during SEMA while they were gone. So we had an extra floater day. So we took Friday off, and we hit the building from basically 8 a.m. till 6 p.m.
Your building. You hit your building.
The post frame construction that we're doing.
I took Jeff past comfort. He was ready to throw in the towel. He was done.
I was.
And he it's always good. He's a very good general contractor setup guy. He's like, we're going to do this. We're going to make this accomplishment. And we were so close. And he's like, I'm tired. I'm done. And I'm like, good music just hit on the radio.
The sun just came out.
The sun just did come out. It's sort of warmer than it was. I've now been able to ignore my pains and aches because I've worked through it long enough. I'm like, nope.
So he doesn't say a word to me. I'm just finishing some button-up stuff on one side, and I look over, and he's starting to stand up a 12-foot post on his own, and I'm just staring at it. I'm like, here it is. We're going to do it. We're just going to keep going.
Mind you, this is after we've gotten our butts kicked.
On the 22-footers.
On the 22-footers.
Oh, goodness.
They just were like, no, you're not.
Well,
I'm not going to pass go, not collect $200.
That, and we did 22-footers. We got those set, and then we did the corners, the last remaining corners of the porch, which are the 12-footers. So it was just the 4 posts in between.
Yep.
But we realized that the holes were offset from where they needed to be.
Yep.
And so we had to dig out, and we recognized that it was going to be
we were pushing a boulder
intensive
uphill both ways in 8 feet of snow.
So at that point, it was like, okay, we've got 4 posts left. We can do that tomorrow after work. Let's rest so we don't kill ourselves.
Nope.
And he just kept going, and I'm like, he can't keep going on his own. I have to help.
Yeah.
So here it is, and I'm glad that we did, because sometimes you just need that little push to get over that hump, and that's what we did.
So then
We always do a little bit of pushing, though.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
yeah. And then Saturday, we were licking our wounds at work, and he's like, well, we're going to go and work on it some more. So we got one wall done, and we were watching the radar. We were going to get dumped on at some point, and he's like, I got stuff to do that I don't want to get dumped on doing. So he took off, and I looked around, and you know how right before the storm it gets a little warmer, like the wind dies down? Mm-hmm. I was like,
Literally the calm before the storm.
I'm going to put the saw away, and I'm going to do dumb things, and I'm going to keep going.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You've got my full support.
So I got one whole string done on the back wall by myself. What started me is just an 8-footer to start with. I was like, meh.
I can do an 8-footer.
I can do an 8-footer, and I was like, I could put a 16-footer next to it, though. That's a lot harder by yourself.
Right.
Yep.
But I was able to get everything picked up, that done before the storm. It definitely did not hit like we thought it was, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I would have been very wet, but I was able to get that accomplished. So I felt good about that progress that we made on the building. And then Sunday, I did this all day long haul apart terrathon, which are good supporters of the business, the Novacells. We've watched these boys grow up, and they are now enthusiasts. One has 2 Jeeps, because you can't just have one.
Just have one.
And the other one is pursuing Ford truck supports projects. And their dad has a vintage Ford truck.
Sure.
And he had parts on Marketplace, and because I just can't stay off of Marketplace, that were ridiculously cheap. And I was like, well, I could use that part. And when you don't have a building done and you don't have any space and you're literally...
Definitely buy more parts.
You should definitely get parts,
Love it.
especially when they're free, too cheap. So I started Sunday morning meeting them in Pierpont, which my wife was like, where is Pierpont? I'll show you.
Your wife didn't know where Pierpont was?
Well, they just blend together.
They do blend together. Unquestionably, they blend together.
So the biggest thing in Pierpont is the Dollar General. So we met there, back tailgate to tailgate, and filled my truck so much that I originally thought I could just keep going and keep filling this truck. And I was like, no, I can't.
Oh, God.
So I drove home, unloaded it, and then we drove to Newton Falls and loaded it again. And she was trying to pick up.
You thought you were going to be able to do this like multi-stop of collecting. You had multiple stops of old junk vehicle parts.
I did.
Does this surprise you?
Folks, I'm telling you,
The building's not built. Where are you putting this stuff?
We are who we are. I just can't. I just can't, folks. We're not playing characters. We're just. I'm sorry, Jeff. Are you okay there?
The sad part is my wife.
I'm just thinking about the fact that we don't even have a roof on a building yet,
No.
and he's collecting more.
Wait till
crap
I tell
to
you
put
the
in
list
that
of stuff
building.
I got.
I don't want to hear.
So there might be a support group for people that have gotten irritated by Scott after this. My wife will be leading that.
Right. I was going to say.
Because I was like, well, it's free to cheap. I can now have.
That's your favorite. That's your favorite price,
right? And the brakes for the 36 were really expensive, and I wanted to use a Bendix style brake because they're just better than the Lockheed style. And so this time around, I'm like, okay, if I go and buy $1,500 worth of brakes I can't afford nor store, she might just slap me. So how do I do this cheap to free?
Oh no.
You do it with F1 brakes from 49 to 50 something. I haven't done enough research yet. I can't give you all the definite Scott
That
details
nobody cares about.
That nobody cares about.
Yep.
But I was able to procure a complete F1 front axle with brakes on it, and then a complete F1 rear axle with brakes on it.
When you say F1, for the folks listening at home, what is that?
48 to 51-ish.
Car, sedan.
Ford truck, which has Bendix style brakes. They're 11s versus 12s. Don't care. Model T is lighter, smaller.
Oh, yeah. We know that 11s are more than sufficient.
Plenty. So I'm going to figure out how I can adapt those onto what I got. Now I have all the pieces. I can go and play Legos.
This is like the original Mustang 2 front end swap.
Sort of. And then the best part is if you've done a good job of getting junk and then selling junk to then have little to no investment in your current junk, you want to do it again. So I think I can sell off extra parts from the front axle I hoarded and maybe make it free, the parts I want. So that would even be better.
I need this to be a sound clip for Davey. Just if you do a good job at your junk and my junk,
Absolutely.
I mark this now. I need it as a sound clip. You will see this part again, folks.
Currently, the Model T and my tractor are completely surrounded with parts because how do I make my wife okay with it? Well, you get truck parts for her truck too. So I got a complete 351 modified spare motor for her, but it's in complete parts, like all taken apart. So the pistons are in a box and the blocks over here. And then
Just the Nova cells?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I got a 9-inch center section and axle shafts and yet another set of brakes for her rear axle. So at this point, I can just build a whole nother axle for hers, roll her rusted junk out, and put this one in.
Okay.
So that's the plan.
That's what everybody needs, 2 rear axles. Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, when one's got rust pits so deep that you can see through it on the top of the housing.
Yeah. I get it.
I know there's a Detroit locker in there and gears, but I don't have faith that they're
100%.
worth anything anymore.
Get it.
And,
Makes sense to me.
I really want her motor to be okay, but it's, had a bird nesting in the engine compartment and it's been in the field for a year. So, it doesn't hurt to have a spare block just in case.
Oh, just
that needs to go to the machine shop someday. Anyway.
Wow.
So that's what my weekend updates were.
What I heard is that you acquired more projects.
That's exactly what he did.
Yep.
I'm just maintaining.
My weekend was focused on family and recovery. My kids were involved in a local theater production, again, that continued to attempt to keep them very well rounded.
Which I heard attendance-wise was out of the park.
Just
Had to turn people away, basically.
literally, not basically, literally, there was standing room only. It was told it was sold out. I mean, it was for a little community theater. It was awesome.
What was the play?
Rainbow Fish. It is actually a youth-oriented play.
Is that based on the
book?
Yeah.
It is. It is based on the book. And my mom's actually the theater director for this initiative. And
My daughter was super excited to try to go. She had a flyer. Their school had someone at the school had put out flyers
Sure.
for all the kids, and she had asked me about it. I said, "Well, I'm not making no promises. We'll see," because we had a lot of car parts to gather. So after we had gotten home, she brought her the flyer and she said, "Well, can we do this?" And I said, "Well, sadly, it's sold out."
Yep.
So
Yep. And that's
we can't.
And that is absolutely the truth. It was sold out, 3 performances. I think all of them were sold out or about near as far as how they were advertising it. My son runs the tech for it, and my daughter was one of the primary characters in it, and they did a beautiful job. But the weird sucker that I am, as much as you guys hear me with the shenanigans and the house builds and the vehicles and the this and the that, I attend every single performance of my children. So even though it's the same show and it's 3 different shows, I attend every single one. I sit through every single performance, even though it's the exact one that I just watched. So that was the bulk of my day, and then I do crazy stuff in between, or prior to or thereafter. Fortunately, yesterday I had tried to preface with enough people that I really wanted to try and do like some decluttering of my life. And for the most part, people kind of let me be. However, not my wife, right? Because folks, I mean, if you thought that I was special, my wife is
Barefoot on the beach.
barefoot on the beach.
Yeah.
And it's
And
cold, man.
I saw those pictures.
Yep.
Not quite cold enough to need muck boots yet, but that's coming.
Oh,
Yes.
I mean, and it was legitimately like, she's like, I think I've done nerve damage now. We can go. You know what I mean? Like, she's like,
You guys are meant for each other.
Her feet were on fire because we were so far down. It was so cold, but she insisted on being in the waves.
Yep.
And I mean, it is.
Honestly, the water was probably warmer than.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it started to turn. I mean, it was pretty
pretty cold last
crashing.
time I was
well,
down
here's
there.
the piece, folks, and that's funny that you even mentioned that, because that's not even the part that I was going to elaborate upon. Honestly, that's just normal for me. What I was going to elaborate upon was that, man, I'm probably going to share it. So my wife has an acquaintance that she has befriended, and individual, they have a very good relationship, and in the process, my wife is kind of assisting her in some daily living activities, I think is the best way I want to phrase it. And so this is a person my wife might help unpack some groceries for, or periodically after school we'll go and take her trash out and pull the trash barrel out to the and this is just kind of a little thing that makes us uniquely us, right? I don't talk about all this stuff that often. But in my wife's embrazened confidence, she was going to do home repairs yesterday.
Not surprised.
And found herself in a home repair.
A pickle.
In a pickle.
And she needed reinforcements, right?
And she needed reinforcements because she had incapacitated an item within the bathroom, and
Oh no!
and as a home repair, my wife didn't plug up the bathroom. She was trying to do a home repair for this individual, and they have not enough tools to do what they were trying to do.
Yep.
And the blind leading the blind, right? But my wife's and just embrazened confidence,
We're gonna figure it out.
She was going to do this repair, and got to the point where a bolt and a nut were so rust welded together that they could not come undone any further. Equally, the stuff that they were holding tight and true had now become all loosey-goosey and out of commission. So there is no other choice except for this to be cut, because it is rust welded in a place, is exposed to water and so on and so forth. And my wife throws herself upon my mercy while I am trying desperately to relax and maybe do some other, personal decluttering of my brain and energy. And now I am, as Jeffrey has done, packing a toolbox and heading off to
cut the bolt,
bury my face in somebody else's bathroom and cut said bolt with, a whiz wheel. So I showed up, and if I was there for 15 minutes, that was a long time. I'm certain of it, right? But it's 25 minutes one direction, show up.
Yep.
Had to kind of wait for this person to invite me into their home, because again, their relationship was with my wife and yada yada. Yeah, it was just something that's so iconically my wife getting me involved in, and I just thought, this is why, as not any of us, we struggle to complete our own projects.
Yep.
Because we're us.
So I had, besides helping Scott with that build, our nonprofit had our fourth quarter board meeting. So I was in Erie for that. Lots of emotional stuff going on this weekend with the nonprofit, good and bad, or not necessarily bad, but open-ended questions now. The venue that we utilize for our major event every year and have a great working partnership with, the general manager has now accepted another position, and he was very closely involved with our
making
event.
it such a success. Yeah.
Yep. And then, so we're like, all right, well, that's one thing. At least we still have the partnership with Voodoo. But wait, Voodoo has decided to sell that location into a franchise location.
So it will still be a Voodoo for
so
those
it's still
listening,
Voodoo
to
Brewing,
our knowledge,
but
right?
it's a franchise location now instead of a corporate store.
Yep.
Which changes the dynamic because
A little bit, right? It has the
little bit.
capacity.
Capacity. Their financial investment in our event could potentially significantly change based on new ownership. Then we find out new ownership is somebody that I actually know and I'm acquainted with.
Yeah. So there's a
distantly related
roller
to.
coaster of.
And I still don't know what that actually means for the event. There's going to be more meetings and opportunities and growth development within the organization. So there was quite the toll on that. We talked about finances, we talked about future plannings and where the organization's going. So it was a very involved meeting. So afterwards, I did go back home with intent to kind of, like you said, declutter my brain, just rest. My body was screaming at me from the 2 days of work at Scott's, plus the other stuff I had going on. So I decided to sit and watch football. I watched the Steelers and Bengals, which was a great game. Steelers had amazing success, which then made me want to watch the Browns and the Ravens because I needed the Ravens to lose to the Browns. So I was forced to root for the Browns. And I ended up texting Davey that I had to root for the Browns and they better not disappoint me. And he
of course
said,
they did.
His reply was, "Get used to it. I've been disappointed by them for years."
I've been disappointed by my whole life.
Or you'll get used to it quickly, something like that. I was cracking up.
Yep.
Sure enough, the Browns come out. They're looking awesome. They're destroying the Ravens. I'm
They're
like, that's going to
amazing.
be a good game. And then they
Lost
go and
it
just...
last 3 minutes of the game.
Oh, they gave it away. They didn't even lose
I
it.
know.
They just said, here you go. You can have
That's
the
what the Browns do.
And I was like...
We like to get your hopes up and then kick you right square in the pants.
We haven't had a good Browns thing since I was in primary school.
I
I
agree.
know. I don't know why I
Sad.
even bothered to try to root for them, but,
I used to tell people we make the best partners in relationships because our bar is pretty low.
Oh, yeah. You
my
guys
wife's a Steelers fan. I don't know what it says about us. That I'm a Browns fan and my wife's a Steelers fan.
I
They're
don't
used
know.
to winning, so she feels like she's winning, and
I-
I can barely tolerate anything. So
out of the whole thing, though, I think the icing on the cake of how the weekend went is when the Jeep commercial came on, and I realized something that we have done for 3 years on the podcast has now been turned into a Jeep commercial.
oh, what's that?
The 12 Days of Jeepness.
Oh, you know what? There is the 12 for 12. There is a 12 for 12 that Jeep is doing. We didn't even talk about all the good Stellantis stuff that's happening, and we don't have time.
Well, but we do need to point out that since we're talking about Christmas, we are doing the Christmas Conneaut Parade on Black Friday. We had people asking about it. I got messages over the weekend that I inappropriately did not respond to.
Yeah.
And I apologize, but I was taking the weekend for my own
The big
things.
thing that I've shared with people is as much as we do love the parade and we desperately want you to also love it and be involved with us, our own personal professional pursuits just had us kind of prioritizing these.
Run a little ragged.
We're
currently.
running a little thin. We're running a little thin. And so our normal marketed ability to share with people the plan for Black Friday, Christmas parade,
it's lacking.
It's lacking. And we apologize. We do. We'll do better. But we are planning to do it, yes. I think on that note, we've got to go because we've ran way over time.
Yes, we have.
But we thank you all so much for continuing to hang in there with us, listen to us, and be part of this great Jeep family that it is. Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Keep on.